हाय गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। मेरा नाम समीर कुमार है और आज का होस्ट मैं हूँ इस मार्केट आउटलुक वेबिनार का। जैसा कि हम सब आज के डेट में सुन रहे हैं कि काफ़ी सारा जियोपॉलिटिकल टेंशन बढ़ रहा है और रोज ट्रम्प का स्टेटमेंट इन्वेस्टर का हार्ट बीट ऊपर नीचे कर रहा है। तो एक कंसर्न बना हुआ है मार्केट में कि क्या होगा इससे, इंडियन इक्विटी मार्केट का रिएक्शन कैसा होगा, क्या होगा। तो हमारी इन हाउस व्यूज इसके ऊपर क्या है आज, उसके बारे में हमारे जो फाउंडर और सीईओ हैं मिस्टर विकास अग्रवाल, वो आपको बताएंगे कि हमें क्या करना चाहिए और हमारा जो माइक्रोज है वो किस ओर इशारा करता है। राइट। तो जैसा कि हर बार हम करते हैं और इससे हमारे इन्वेस्टर हैं इनको एक यूनिफॉर्म डिसीजन लेने में हेल्प होता है, तो इस बार भी मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सबके डाउट्स को हम क्लियर कर पाएंगे और ये सेशन जो होगा बहुत इंटरेक्टिव रहेगा। तो प्लीज आप लोग अपना क्वेश्चन को हमें चैट बॉक्स में लिखिएगा। लास्ट में हम आपको पूरा मौका देंगे कि आप अपने क्वेरी को पूछ पाए और डिस्कस कर पाए। ओवर टू विकास जी।
Thank you, Samir ji, for helping us to organize these sessions every month, and I'm sure investors are taking the advantage of these data points which are relevant. So what I'll do is I'll share the presentation, and then we'll start the session. So first of all, I take this opportunity to welcome all the participants for joining the call. Can you see my screen?
Yes, screen are visible.
Right. And also take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy new year. Let's hope that 2026 would be better than 2025. Nevertheless, we'll try and understand what went wrong. I think it's a time to introspect, understand what went wrong, and how things are looking going ahead. All right, so this is the data worldwide. अगर आप 2025 का डेटा देखते हैं पिछले साल का, तो this is broadly markets are. So last 1 year of major indices, Nasdaq has ended up delivering 20% returns. इसमें आपने देख रहे होंगे कि सबसे ज्यादा रिटर्न जो आया 76%, वो साउथ कोरिया का रिटर्न आया। साउथ कोरिया का जो रिटर्न है 76%, वो बिकॉज ऑफ देयर टू स्टॉक्स वेंट अप बाय 150 and 250%, but otherwise there is no structure growth as such. However, China has delivered 18% return. So broadly, even Japan has delivered 26% return. This is a calendar year return that I'm referring to. And this data we picked up from NSE and investing.com. So अगर आप ये देखते हैं तो we have done vis-a-vis other markets, we have done not done so well. So Nifty has delivered, although double digit returns, 10%, but Sensex is about 8%. So this is broadly the performance of last 1 year across the globe. As I talked about South Korea, there were two stocks mainly which has done very well, like the Samsung Electronics and second is SK Hynix. So they have really outperformed big time, and as a result of that, their index performance went up. But as I said, that is not structured. And पिछले साल ये देखने को मिला है कि most of the money chase valuations, but money also chase new themes. So it has been observed that in most of the markets that we see, these large mandates have gone to artificial intelligence and the technologies. While there are two school of thought. So the one school of thought, they are concerned about the AI bubble, like your .com bubble, which happened in the past in 2000. Some of you who were there in the markets may remember. I remember that very, very distinguishedly, that those days, most of the .com companies fell down by good 40-50%. So जो AI theme hai, that is playing a very big role. And as a result of that, money is getting deployed there. But otherwise, आप देखेंगे चाइना का, so China equity rally has been driven largely by a recovery in valuation from very pessimistic levels, in the sense that China पिछले 5 सालों में 6 बार नीचे गया है और उसके बाद ऊपर उनका मार्केट बाउंस किया है. So this is what broadly the markets are. जैसा मैंने बोला कि ये टाइम है इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करने का. Let's look at what went wrong. So we were coming out of 2024 and entering in 2025 last year. When we entered, that was a time when interest rates were very high. RBI tightened the liquidity, and one of the reasons for them to tighten the liquidity is that they wanted to control the inflation, because a lot of countries had gone through very difficult time and they couldn't control the inflation. So that way, RBI has done good job. But when they tightened the liquidity, there was no liquidity at all, and on top of that, there were regulatory pressures on banking sector last year in terms of economic growth and corporate earnings. They were trying to balance it out. On the other side, we saw that central governments were involved, doing busy in elections, and as a result of that, we saw state capital and both central capital kind of taper down their momentum and growth both, and reduce big time capex. So, in the sense that they are supposed to achieve at least 1 lakh crores of money to be invested every month as a capex money, but they could not achieve their targets. मतलब मोटा मोटी they could do only 7.5-8 lakh crores in the whole year. So आप वहां से हिसाब लगा सकते हैं. And on top of that, valuations were also high. Rupee also weakened big time against the USD. We saw major fall happening there. And along with the tariff, which is sanctioned by US in India, which is one of the highest, and then these global uncertainties, which actually triggered the significant FPI outflows also. Because क्या होता है कि जब global uncertainty आती है, so these FIIs who have invested in India, they are the first one to take the money back and put that money in a safer zone, especially from a developed economies. And as a global capital increasingly migrated towards AI trade, जैसा मैं बोल रहा था कि AI में पैसा गया है, India lagged completely in terms of AI play. So we don't have any innovative AI play as far as listed space is concerned in India. Even the large corporates, unfortunately, decided not to undertake any kind of AI activities. Rather, they were consumers instead of developing something. And that's how our commerce minister, I remember last year, Mr. Piyush Goyal was mentioning that आप चाय का दुकान बना रहे हैं इंडिया में स्टार्टअप में, और आप नाश्ते की दुकान बना रहे हैं, why not you think about some innovations? And he was referring to this because money was going towards that, and as a result of that, he was mentioning that as an economy we should be focusing on that. But nevertheless, despite all that, Nifty generated about 10% in last 12 months and made an all-time high at the start of 2026. As we entered, markets were trading in January at all-time high level. Let's look at some data points again here. India has made a big policy pivot. I know that all of you know that the RBI started reducing the interest rate. So from 6.5% last year, January, this January we are at about 5.25. So almost 1.25% of cut. And by the way, this 1.25% actually translate into 2 lakh crores of savings for Indians. ये 1.25% जो कट किया, इससे क्या फायदा हुआ? इससे 2 लाख करोड़ की सेविंग्स हुई इंडियंस की. So this is a big step which is taken by government of India in order to arrest the situation. And this is the interesting chart that I picked up from 2015 to 2025. And we've seen that whenever there is a cut, whenever there is a cut in the interest rate, we see that equity market next year starts performing well. It doesn't do anything same year, but next year when the market becomes stable, when the cost of capital becomes lower, that is the time equity starts doing well. So this is basically a inverse relationship between interest rate and the stock markets. So as we move ahead, I'm sure things will improve and overall the performance of the market may improve. Let's look at the other thing is that recently the government of India took this reform of GST. That's a big step in Indian economy. So of late, India as an economy is undertaking a lot of reforms, and GST is one of them. So I'm sure you would have heard that they've reduced the slab rate. अभी इसका मतलब क्या है? It actually translate into another 2 lakh crores going in the pocket of Indians. And where would this money go? मैंने अभी बताया आपको, इंटरेस्ट रेट कट किया, they have saved about 2 lakh crores. GST कम किया, Indians are another saving 2 lakh crores. Then income tax का आपने देखा होगा, slab increase कर दिया, so income tax is now, instead of it used to be 6-7 lakhs, now the minimum threshold has come down to 12.75 lakhs. So if you are earning anything at about 12.75 lakh crores, you don't have to pay any income tax. So that has another added about more than 1 lakh crores as a saving for the Indians. So this data clearly indicates that because of these reforms, the GST will continue to improve going ahead as well. This is the direct tax. I already covered this. So 20 million taxpayers will save about more than 1 lakh crore additional money as far as their saving is concerned. So this now data also clearly indicates that that is an additional big reform that government of India has undertaken. The other thing is India is basically witnessing a very rare Goldilocks moment for high real growth and low inflation. In the sense that last year आपने देखा होगा, last year our GDP growth had come down to below 6%, which is 5.6%. And from 5.6, we are back to 8.2, you see. But the markets have not rallied, but GDP growth has revived. On the other side, the inflation, which went up to, I looked at the data from 2012 onwards, but even when you look at 2024, from 6%, it has come down to below 4%. Average in CPI number, inflation number. And that, in fact, the last month was the lowest, by the way, only 0.25%. So that clearly indicates that on the one hand, your CPI number, which is your inflation number, is going down. On the other hand, your GDP numbers are going up. And I think it's a very good combination in order to see how markets will behave in 2026. So a couple of points in order to summarize the whole thing. So for equity market, basically what I want to tell you is that this kind of combination actually surpasses the nominal GDP growth rate. Because आपका GDP is about, suppose 7-8%, and say आपका inflation is about 4%. So which means you are growing at about, nominal GDP growth is about 11%. So if you're growing at about 11%, 12%, which means anything that grows at 12% year on year, in 5 years you double the economy. So today our size of the GDP is $4.13 trillion. In next 7 years time, 6.5, 7 years time, which is about 2032-33, we are talking about our economy size to be at $8.5 trillion, close to $8 trillion, which is not a small number by any standard so far. Because globally you have only 3 economies, which are largest. So you have US, then China, as of now, Germany, and then India. So as we move ahead, you will see that Germany, which is at about $5.5 trillion, we're going to surpass that economy very soon. So coming back here, policy supports, we talked about how government of India is supporting the economy through the policy changes. And this change is not only in income tax, it also in GST, it also in monetary easing. So a lot of CRR cut has taken place and they have injected about almost 9.5 lakh crores in the economy by doing a lot of open market operations. GDP is growing up, inflation is going down, and the nominal GDP growth is kind of muted to some extent. So these are few things which is clearly a good sign. The other thing is recent softness in inflation was largely driven by weak food inflation. All of you know that food inflation is going down, but that's a concern for government because even the RBI wants wants to target 4% of CPI growth number, but unfortunately this time it has come down to below 4. So that is also a concern, but I'm sure RBI will be able to fix this. And on the GST cut and the overall thing, I think it's a very good structure growth story as far as India is concerned. We already talked about, so as we move from low base to from higher base, we came down to low base, and now from low base, we are likely to go on the other side. You will see that the overall inflation as well as the GDP number both will come to about 21%. So this is what we believe, and this will help the economy to grow. Some interesting data points that I picked up from Money Control and also ICICI Prudential annual outlook of 2026. As a result, 2027 could mark an earning revival, because as far as positioning India as amongst the fastest growing market in terms of earning growth would be much higher. अब देखिए मैंने कुछ डेटा लिया है from 2019 onwards. This is the Nifty earnings. So 2019 6%, then 20 -2 because of COVID, 21 14, then suddenly आपने देखा था कोविड के बाद इकोनॉमी जब खुली थी 22 में, तो it has done so well, 36%. Then 23 again 11%, 24 24.5%. So market again started doing well. And then you see in 25 it was 0.80%, less than 1%. And I told you the reason also. I just gave you the reason because of low liquidity, high inflation, no reforms, all that. Because of that, it had only less than 1% of earnings. And now we are coming back to 8.7% this year. So to my mind, this is also a good number. But 2027 and 28, we are likely to grow and come back at about 15% growth. Now, 15% to my mind is a very good number as far as Nifty earnings are concerned. Then foreigners have been aggressively selling. We know that. So what I did is I picked up the data from 2000 onwards. So 2000 onwards, I saw that year on year they were adding funds, except for 2008, 7-8 during the Lehman Brothers crisis. If you remember, they had no option than to sell Indian equities and go back. So they sold stocks worth rupees 47,000 crores. And those days, our size of the market used to be less than $1 trillion. Today, our market size is about 525 lakh crores. So you can imagine almost $5.25 trillion. I think, slightly more than that. Yeah, $5.5 trillion. That's the size of our market cap today. And then, in 2015 and 16, again, they had negative inflow, as in outflow. They had 14,000 crores of outflow. But abhi agar aap dekhte recently, after 2000, so during COVID time, they infused about 2,74,000 crores. So that is a huge money. आपने देखा होगा कोविड में जब market fell down by 35%, well, everyday market used to go up. You see, and it was not stopping. It was going up and up and up. Then 2021-22 में 21-22 they taken the money out, which is almost 1,40,000 crores. Then 2023 again 37,000 crores. Then उन्होंने फिर 2 lakh crores infuse किया, and then again they have taken out 127 and 57. So जितना इन्होंने 23-24 में डाला था foreigners ने, उतना वो already लेके चले गए. The other thing is that overall their holdings in equity markets in India is a decadal low, in the sense that at one point of time these foreigners used to hold more than 21% in our Indian economy, as far as our Indian stock market is concerned. But their overall exposure holdings has come down from 21% to 15.5% now. इसमें एक और चीज हुई है. The other thing is the retail participation, which used to be at less than 4%, 5%, that has become more than 16% now. So what has happened is that your FPIs are selling it, but retail domestic investors are buying it. So in a way, we are owning our own equities, which is a good sign. Then I again picked up some more data. So I looked at if these FPIs, when they were selling, they had a negative inflow as far as India is concerned. Then then how Nifty behaved that point of time. So आपको पता है during the Lehman Brothers crisis market delivered minus 40%. And in 2015-16 आपको पता होगा before this during this demon market went down by minus 8%. Then 2021-22 में उन लोगों ने 1,40,000 करोड़ का स्टॉक बेचा, बट अभी देखिए आप मार्केट में इतना इफेक्ट नहीं आया. सो मार्केट डिलीवर्ड 19% डिस्पाइट द मेजर सेल. फिर 22-23 में अगेन 37,000 करोड़ बेचा. सो मार्केट्स वाज लाइक दे वर लाइक फ्लैटिश. एंड 24-25 में अनदर 1,27,000 करोड़ दे सोल्ड, बट अगेन मार्केट वाज पॉजिटिव बाय 4%, Nifty 500. And again 25-26 they sold stocks worth rupees 57,000 odd crores, and despite all that Nifty 500 delivered 14% returns. So now this clearly indicates that earlier you see our dependency on FPIs were so high that even if you look at the same logic, then ideally yahan pe when they sold these kind of numbers 57,000, which is higher than during the Lehman Brothers crisis, so your Nifty 500 return should have also been minus 40% ideally. But we are sitting on positive 14%, which means that the retail participation is coming back, FPI's participation is going down, and as a result of that, markets are not going down. It's not affecting too much. However, let's look at some numbers in terms of emerging markets. Is there a chance potentially that they are likely to come back? My sense is that they can come back because valuations have kind of lower down the premiums, and also the earning yields are supporting India. For example, अगर आप देखते हैं निफ्टी Nasdaq का, so Nasdaq 100 has 35 का P, and उसके सामने उसका अर्निंग yield देखेंगे तो only 2.8%. But when you look at Nifty 50, we are at about 22.8, and our historical P is about 20, last 20 years of data that you look at. But earning yield is almost 4.4%. So अगर आप earnings yield को ध्यान में रखते हैं तो this P is justified because of the growth that is coming in. Another data, China. So China पिछले 5 सालों में आप अगर डेटा देखते हैं, पिछले 5 सालों में 6 बार China's market went up, rallied, and again went down, again went up, again down, which indicates that the entire world is not trusting Chinese markets and they are parking their money for short term, chasing some themes and valuations, and then again coming back. But if history repeats it for itself, then FPIs may reallocate flows towards structurally stable emerging markets such as India, because हमारा जो growth है वो structurally बहुत strong है vis-a-vis some of the theme based economies that we saw in the last 15 minutes. The other thing is dollar weakness has historically led to strong rallies and inflow in emerging markets. जब अगर आप इंटरनेशनल डेटा देखते हैं, जैसे 2001 में आपने देखा, उसके बाद में 2013 से 15 के टाइम पे आपने देखा, और वापस से अगर आप इनफ्लो देखते हैं 2021 के टाइम पे, तो जब आपने देखा कि ये डॉलर इंडेक्स में इस तरह के चेंजेस हुए हैं, उसके अगले वाले सालों में परफॉर्मेंस काफी अच्छा रहा है. तो ये चांसेस हैं कि अगर अभी खराब चल रहा है तो आने वाले समय में ये अच्छा चलेगा. सो डेटा फ्रॉम कोटक म्यूचुअल फंड, थैंक्स. उनके सौजन्य से डेटा हुआ है कोटक म्यूचुअल फंड को, तो मैं उन्हें थैंक यू बोलना चाहता हूँ. Where are the FPIs likely to allocate in the coming year? So I just talked about it. आप अगर देखते हैं US का growth looks to be 2%, China का growth looks to be 4%, India is 6%, Germany is 0.9, Japan is 0.6, South Korea is 1.8. अब देखिए इंडिया का ग्रोथ का रेट नंबर इज एक्सट्रीमली हाई 6.2%. ऑन दी अदर साइड लेट्स लुक एट द पीए आल्सो. सो देखिए अभी 15 का पी है, बट चाइना का अगर 15 का पी है तो चाइना का आप अगर ग्रोथ भी देखते हैं तो 4.2 है, whereas इंडिया का पी अगर 22 है तो जस्टिफाइड है बिकॉज आवर ग्रोथ रेट इज 6.2%, एंड अर्निंग यील्ड वाइज आल्सो वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग 4.4%. So I'm not denying that money will not go to China's markets, but at the same time, it becomes a strong case for India also to witness some inflow uh, in 2026. And US continues to be most expensive markets amongst the global peer group, not to forget that. On the other side, the other emerging markets, when you compare India with China and some other emerging markets, clearly it's a very strong case because one, the valuations have come down, it has become stable now. Second, the India is the fastest growing engine for the globe, 6.2%. By the way, this 6.2% is what IMF is talking about, but the real growth would be, I think, nothing less than 6.6, 6.7. In fact, the last quarter data, when you look at my sense, it will surprise everybody. Then my sense it will go up to beyond 7% growth. Anyways, we'll consider that number. So अभी क्वेश्चन ये आता है कि will India outperform the emerging markets again? Because historically अगर आप देखते हैं, मैंने डेटा लिया 2012 से, 2012 से अगर आप देखते हैं तो ये एमएससीआई इंडिया का रिटर्न है और ये एमएससीआई इमर्जिंग मार्केट का रिटर्न है। 2012 में एमएससीआई इंडेक्स ने 23% रिटर्न दिया, 2013 में माइनस दिया, इन्होंने भी माइनस दिया, वीजा भी 15% अगर आप देखते हैं 2012 में, 2013 में दोनों माइनस, 2014 में वी डिलीवर्ड पॉजिटिव रिटर्न्स एंड एमएससीआई इंडेक्स नेगेटिव था, 2015 में -7, दे डिलीवर्ड -16। मतलब अभी तक ये देखिए ईयर ऑन ईयर वी वर डूइंग वेल। 2016 was a bad year when they did better than us. They delivered 8%, we delivered only -2. Then 2017, 36%, 2018 -8, 2019 6%, 2020 14%, 21 25% against -4%, 22 -8%, they delivered -22, 23 again 19.5 against 7%, 24 11%, we delivered against 5%. But in 2025, last year, we did only 3% in dollar term vis-a-vis other emerging markets, and thanks to South Korea, the other emerging market has done 30%, which is much higher. So let's see how 2026 will behave. Chances are that we may outperform the emerging markets. The other thing which is going in our favor is the crude price. You know, it, I don't know how many of you remember, it went up to 122 per barrel dollar, you know. So from 122 dollar per barrel, it has come down to now 59, 59 around 60 in January 2026. तो जब ये ऑयल के प्राइस कम होते हैं तो इंडिया को काफी बेनिफिट होता है। सबसे पहला तो लॉजिस्टिक हमारा बहुत बड़ा ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सेक्टर है, केमिकल सेक्टर है, प्लास्टिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, ये जितनी इंडस्ट्री है इनको फायदा होने लगता है। सेकेंड, ओवरऑल इंडियन इकोनॉमी का करंट अकाउंट डेफिसिट मेंटेन हो जाता है, कम हो जाता है। थर्ड, इंपोर्ट डिपेंडेंसी जो है उसमें अगर आप देखते हैं तो वर्ल्ड डॉलर चेंज अगर होता है तो इट एक्चुअली ट्रांसलेट इनटू टेंस ऑफ बिलियंस ऑफ रुपी ऑन एनुअलाइज्ड बेसिस, मैंने आपको बोला, फॉर द इकोनॉमी। एंड थर्ड, ये इससे क्या होता है, इन्फ्लेशन नंबर कम्स डाउन, आरबीआई गेट्स इनटू अ कंफर्ट जोन, एंड ओवरऑल अगर आप देखते हैं तो इट बिकम्स गुड फॉर एज एन इकोनॉमी इन टर्म्स ऑफ द ओवरऑल फॉरेनर्स कमिंग बैक टू इंडिया एंड इन्वेस्टिंग, सो अर्निंग भी काफी अच्छी हो जाती है, वैल्यूएशन लुक्स गुड। सो these are the situations. So अभी क्या है कि it has come down to now 60. So $60 per barrel I think is very much affordable and gone in our favor. So जैसा मैंने बोला कि इंडिया जो है वो 3 सिलेंडर पे अभी फायर कर रही है। सबसे पहला है कि capex led growth. So capex led growth in the sense the government of India is taking around a target of 1 lakh crores month on month, and they've been investing and doing this capex. The other thing is the consumption story that I talked about. Consumption, may I just shown you the kind of numbers that government is giving benefit to all the investors, all the Indian citizens. And third is that ये government कहती है कि हम next generation को हम बहुत ज्यादा उधारी देके नहीं जाना चाहते, in the sense that they want to maintain their fiscal targets. So if these things are happening, I think from a structural point of view, India is well positioned, and we continue to believe that 2016 could be much better than 2025. With that, I'd like to conclude my conversation here and maybe open the forum for Q&A. Thanks, Samir, and over to you.
थैंक यू विकास जी। तो अभी हम लोग क्वेश्चन ले लेते हैं विकास जी। तो इन्वेस्टर आप प्लीज अपना हैंड रेज करिए, मैं आपको ओपन कर दूंगा, आप क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली पूछ सकते हैं विकास जी से।
What you can do is you can take the questions, make them
राइट,
type, and then you can take the questions. Yeah. I think there's a question from Jatin Garg, and yeah.
नो ही इज only then hi, not ask any question.
Okay, you can allow them to speak.
Yeah. तो जतिन जी मैंने आपको अलाउ कर दिया है, आप प्लीज अपना क्वेश्चन पूछिए। मिस्टर जतिन।
या चंदन जी कोई क्वेश्चन है, और बाकी लोग भी अपने टीम के उनसे मतलब क्लाइंट से उनसे पूछ लीजिए।
गौरव गोयल जी आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है तो प्लीज यू कैन आस्क, मैंने आपको अलाउ किया है।
आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है समीर जी तो आप पूछ लीजिए।
हाँ, हमारा ये क्वेश्चन है विकास जी की, ये 2026 क्या लग रहा है आपको, क्योंकि अभी भी एक डर जैसा बना हुआ है इन्वेस्टर के दिमाग में कि लास्ट एक साल परफॉर्म नहीं किया मार्केट, और स्टार्टिंग ऑफ 2026 भी उनको कुछ अच्छी खबर नहीं आ रही है ग्लोबल मार्केट से। तो बहुत लोगों का ये मानना है, एक मतलब ये सोच है कि क्या रहेगा ये 2026 भी कहीं 2025 की तरह तो नहीं रहने वाला है।
ये देखिए जैसे मैंने आपको अभी कुछ नंबर्स दिखाए, आपको अर्निंग्स के नंबर दिखाए, आपको सिचुएशन कहाँ थी इकोनॉमी की और अभी कहाँ आई है, ये आपको क्लियरली इंडिकेट कर रहा है कि 2016 विल बी मच बेटर देन 2025। हाँ, मैं आपकी बात से सहमत हूँ कि ग्लोबली अगर आप देखते हैं ये जो अनसर्टेनिटी बनी हुई है, इसके वजह से कंसर्न है। लाइक रिसेंटली यू हर्ड मिस्टर डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प टॉकिंग अबाउट पुटिंग 500% kind of sanction numbers on India in terms of tariffs. So both on India as well as China and Brazil as well. So this clearly indicates that the entire world is now getting divided into sides, so east and west. So obviously you saw that now global south is also coming together in order to deal with this kind of situation. So certainly globally when you look at things are not that great, and you saw what happened in Venezuela recently and how US is trying to take control over it. So these things will continue and may have a little negative impact on the markets, but they are I would say maybe temporary in nature, because structurally अगर आप देखते हैं तो despite they putting sanctions, India never got affected because of that. In fact, we opened up couple of other markets, which is like European markets and some of the Gulf countries where we have started exporting numbers. So this clearly indicates that India is not really concerned about that, and structurally we continue to grow. All that require is patience in this market to see to it that how 2026 will fare.
तो क्वेश्चन आया है ये नरेंद्र जी की तरफ से। नरेंद्र जी मैंने आपको अलाउ भी कर दिया, पूछ भी सकते हैं, तो मैं आपका क्वेश्चन पढ़ देता हूँ। What do you see effects on US on market if US trade deal is not signed till November 26?
देखिए जो होना था वो तो हो ही गया। It's in the price and it's a reality, and these exporters have kind of tried their best to find another solutions and they are already working on it. अब ये है कि डील हो जाता है तो बेनिफिट होगा, बट अगर ट्रेड नहीं हो, डील नहीं होती है, तो इसमें ये हो सकता है कि ओवरऑल जीडीपी पे 0.01% का इफेक्ट आ सकता है, मैक्स टू मैक्स। So if you are growing at 6.5%, you may grow at 6.4%. But if you're growing at 6.7%, you may grow at 6.6%. So 0.01% effect आ सकता है।
My question is, market seems to be factoring that it will be signed in say next 2 or 3 months. But if that doesn't happen, if it extends till November or beyond, then how do you see the effect?
Sure. Thanks for asking that question. I'll translate that whole thing into numbers. So when you look at a correlation with US economy per se, is what I'm trying to tell you is that if doesn't happen, then it can have an impact, negative impact of 0.01% in terms of your GDP growth. So if your GDP is growing at 6.5%, it may come down to 6.4%. On the other side, it has given a lot of time to Indian exporters to the US to find a solution and reaching out to other markets and opening up those markets. So overall, in terms of the overall economy, it may not have too much of impact. But if the deal happens, then further we are likely to add another 0.1 or 0.2% additional GDP on the numbers.
Just one additional, if you don't mind. That is the effect on the economy. What about effect on FII inflows?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. Thanks for asking that. If until the deal is done, I don't think FIIs will return back to India. So that's a big concern. So there will be a possibility that they may not come back. I have just shown you the numbers, how FIIs have behaved in the past 15 years. And if the deal doesn't get through in the next few months, then the chances of these perhaps more of US based foreigners may not come back. I mean, foreigner numbers also, if you look at most of the total FPIs which are registered in India is about 10,000 now. So not all of them are from that economy. So there are some large mandates which comes from now South African markets. There are some large mandate which comes from even some other European markets. So they may not have direct impact on that. But yes, overall FPIs will have its own reservation in terms of coming back to India and redeploying the funds.
Thank you.
So another question because यहाँ पे chat box में आया है मेरे पास. Why did the Indian market underperform global market recently?
हाँ, वही मैंने आपको बताया ना, लास्ट ईयर क्या हुआ है, जो भी फंड्स आए, पहले बात तो एफपीआई से जो एफआईआईस की सेलिंग हुई हमारे मार्केट्स में. दूसरा, हमारे मार्केट्स के वैल्यूएशंस काफी हाई थे वीजा वी अदर इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स. और तीसरा, जीडीपी ग्रोथ नीचे चला गया. और चौथा, अर्निंग्स कम हो गई. और पांचवा, इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ गया. और छठवा, लिक्विडिटी काफी टाइट थी. तो ये 6-7 रीजंस के वजह से उन्होंने डिसाइड किया कि भाई हम इंडिया में नहीं जाएंगे. अच्छा, दूसरा, जितने बाकी कंट्रीज में गए उसमें उन्होंने बहुत सेलेक्टेड थीम बेस पे इन्वेस्ट किया. जैसे मैंने आपको बोला, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, दैट इज बिकमिंग अ वेरी बिग थीम फॉर द ग्लोब. So India is lacking in AI completely. We don't have large corporates like Mr. Ambani and Adani is coming out and taking a big project out of the whole thing. And even the IT companies like Narayan Murthy's of the world have not done anything in that area. So as a result of that, money did not come to India. So 2025 में ये हुआ है सर.
और एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है इन्वेस्टर ने विकास जी कि आर करंट मार्केट वैल्यूएशन एक्सपेंसिव और जस्टिफाइड बाय अर्निंग ग्रोथ.
So नहीं, अभी तो ठीक है. सी अभी तो now that earning growth visibility is there, I have just shown you we are at about 8.7% and likely to close the year with about 9 to 9.5, 10% kind of this quarter January number will come. And on the other side, when you look at PE, so I have just shown you the slide where US is trading at 35 ka PE vis-a-vis India is at 22. Well, this is not a right comparison, but when you compare that with China, so we are at 22, China is at 15, and therefore money goes to China. But the point is that their money is not sticking to China, and therefore, as a result of that, in the last 5 years, they rallied by 20% and they again fell down by 20%. So they are at similar levels in terms of markets for the last 6 years. Now, as far as our market is concerned, I think valuations will get justified next year, because next year we are projecting 15% of earning growth coming back, and the PE is at about 22. Now, when you look at historical PE of the market Nifty, India always traded at about 20 ka PE. So we are at about 10% premium at this point of time. But I think it is well justified because we are growing at a faster rate than other global economies.
और एक क्वेश्चन है विकास जी, हाउ आर geopolitical tension impacting global trade and investment flow? Is the world economy moving towards a soft landing or recession?
I did not get the question. Can you explain, Samir?
He's asking how are geopolitical tension impacting global trade and investment flow? Right, this is one part of the question where he's asking that how this global tension is going to impact our global trade and investment flow. Other part is that is the world economy moving towards a soft landing or recession? मतलब लोग पैसा लगाना चाहेंगे और नहीं लगाना चाहेंगे, रिसेशन की तरफ जाएगा मतलब इकोनॉमी, वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमी।
देखिए, दो क्वेश्चन है। पहला मैं सेकंड क्वेश्चन लेता हूँ कि पैसा लगाएंगे कि पैसा तो लगा हुआ है। मतलब अगर आप वर्ल्ड का इकोनॉमी का साइज देखते हैं, सो टोटल पुट टुगेदर आई थिंक इट्स अबाउट व्हाट 130-140 ट्रिलियन डॉलर, एंड इंडिया सिर्फ 4% है उसका, पूरे वर्ल्ड का। सो मनी इज देयर, मनी विल चेज द वैल्यूएशंस, यू नो। सो जो पैसा है पहले उसकी बात करते हैं, पहले जो बनेगा बाद में पैसा, उसकी बात नहीं करते हैं। What I'm trying to tell you is that yes, geopolitical tension will continue to rise as we move ahead, and clearly the way it is shaping up clearly indicates that on the one side you have NATO. मुझे ऐसा पर्सनली लगता है कि नेटो में भी आप देखेंगे कि वो भी विभाजित हो सकता है आगे चल के, पर अभी क्लियरली हो रहा है कि नेटो वर्सेस द वर्ल्ड, and Russia is not ready to accept that, and Russia is taking its own kind of steps. But what I am overall trying to tell you is that US is having $37 trillion ka udhari, you know, and every year they are adding up another $1 trillion. Why are they putting sanctions? Because they are not in a position to serve the debt, and they have $37 trillion of debt. Now, in order to serve the debt, they need to do these kind of things because they are largely an import-driven economy, and the entire West will have to pay for what they have done. So, as a result of that, but India has very less core. We are not completely export-driven economy. We are more of consumption-driven economy. We look at inward than outward. Obviously, we are not isolated. Obviously, we'll have some amount of correlation to inflow and outflow, which is supply and chain. But at the same time, what I'm trying to tell you is that structurally, we don't see any major concern as far as India is concerned. Yes, geopolitical risk may go up. You will see more volatility going ahead than these straight returns coming to you, like in the past it came. But at the same time, we are not negative on India economy. Well, my window to the sky is still very small, so may not be able to comment much on what is going to happen globally, sir.
One more question is there. Assume deal not done. So how much pain left?
या आप थोड़ा सा इसको एक्सप्लेन करके बताएं समीर जी, आवाज नहीं आ रही।
ये उनका पूछना है कि मान लो डील नहीं होता है यूएस के साथ, तो कितना पेन और बचा है, कितना एफआईज और पैसा निकालेगा इंडिया?
देखिए, डील नहीं होता है तो ये बोलना मुश्किल है कि कितना पैसा निकालेगा, बट मैंने आपको बता दिया कि ओवरऑल जो उनकी जो ओनरशिप है इंडिया में, दैट इज अबाउट 15.5%। आप ये लगा लीजिए, मोटा मोटी 525 लाख करोड़ का मार्केट कैप है, 525 लाख करोड़। तो उनका मतलब 75-80 लाख करोड़ का टोटल होल्डिंग है इंडिया के अंदर। अभी उसमें अगर डील नहीं होता है तो माई सेंस इज द न्यू इनफ्लो इज नॉट लाइकली टू कम, but at the same time I have my own doubt that they will redeem, because they've already redeemed last year in good percentage. So my sense is that they might come back.
Okay.
But deal nahi hota hai, so chances of these FIIs are actually holding back because deal is not happening.
Yeah, Mr. Prakash, you want to ask something? Please be. जी आपको कुछ पूछना है, प्लीज पूछ लीजिए।
So if there are no questions, we can conclude here.
Yeah. So thank you Vikas ji आपने समय निकाला और काफ़ी अच्छे तरीके से चीज़ों को एक्सप्लेन किया है। आई थिंक ये सेशन हमारे इन्वेस्टर को डेफिनेटली हेल्प करेगा एक यूनिफॉर्म डिसीजन लेने के लिए उनके इन्वेस्टमेंट के बारे में। और थैंक यू इन्वेस्टर, आप बहुत पेशेंट होके ये सेशन को सुना है आपने। और आपका कुछ भी क्वेरी होगा तो प्लीज़ आप हमारी टीम को कॉन्टैक्ट करिए, वो आपको सर्व करेंगे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।